Hello friends, welcome to today's video. My name is Tanya, or you can call me Librarian Tanya. I do work at a library for those that may not know, but I am here today to talk about the 5 books that I read in September. And I think September was a pretty good month. I had a 5-star read, actually a few 5-star reads. I discovered a new author that I really love. And yeah, so I just want to talk to you guys about those books. Welcome. I hope you're all having a great fall so far, that you had a great month. I know it's a bit late in October when I'm filming this, but I'm finally able to kind of talk normally. I was pretty sick for a few weeks. I'm still like recovering, but a lot better than what I was before. So here we are to record this video, and if you are new, thank you so much for stopping by, and I hope that you possibly consider subscribing to my booktube channel here, and I'd really appreciate it. Like I said, I read 5 books in September, and I think 3 of them were from the same author. So before I get into that, we'll start with my one thriller of the month, and that was the book Beautiful Ugly. I listened to this on audio, and it is by Alice Feeney. And I have enjoyed a few books from this author in the past. I believe I read Rock, Paper, Scissors by her, and I really enjoyed that one. This one, I ended up reading it, I think like a 3.5, 3 stars maybe. I have to say, for this thriller, it is really engaging. I did like it. And it has shorter chapters, so it's able to kind of, you know, keep going. And if you're maybe able to read a short amount at a time, that's also helpful. But what threw me off was mainly the ending of this book. I just found it kind of strange, kind of different. I don't know, it didn't seem, and I know that thrillers, right, they're an escape, but I still want them to be some things where it's like this could happen, or this could be realistic, right, to an extent in our world. And I didn't really feel that way. It was kind of a strange ending, but I did enjoy the rest of the book. I do have to say that it is an interesting, the audiobook was done very well. So it follows the story of an author, and it tells the story of his wife who disappeared. And it's been a year now since her disappearance, and he is struggling, and he just has had a hard time writing. And so his what's it called, like his agent, literary agent, tells him about this little cottage that he can go and write to, you know, kind of get away and get his creativity flowing. And so he's like, okay, great, I'll go there. And when he gets to this little island, I believe it's a little Scottish island there, and things just kind of start happening that are kind of strange, and that are kind of giving him like slight flashbacks, or things that he thinks he's seeing his wife. And the thing that maybe some people might find challenging at first is there is kind of that back and forth timeline, so that may be a little bit different, and a little bit of a challenge for some people. But I think you listen to the audiobook, that helps fix that like challenge, because you hear the different voices, and that really helps with that. But yeah, like I said, it was a fun time. I did enjoy it. I kept wanting to go back to it, but it just also felt kind of it didn't seem realistic to me, where I was like, would this really, like, I don't know, it kind of seems weird. Yeah. So I don't know. I think I do enjoy Alice Feeney. I like reading her books, so I probably will read more of her books in the future. I wouldn't say that this is like my favorite thriller of all time, but it was an interesting read. Then I discovered the author Cindy Steele, and I was really excited also because many of her books are on Kindle Unlimited, which is really great, so if you have it. But I first read, it is this series, and it is called the Pride and Pranks romance series, and I believe there's a few books in it, and I read the first 2. And that one is called, the first one is That Fine Line, and it's an enemies to lovers kind of situation. I don't know, I guess I'll get into it. And then the second one was Double or Nothing. And if you're looking for like a small town atmosphere and just like community members, getting to know people in the community, I think you will really enjoy this series. What I love about her writing and why I just kept picking up her other books is that I think if you are someone, I am a romance reader, but I feel like I'm tired of, like, there's a time and place for every kind of book, right? But I don't want every book to just be like super fluffy all the time, right? Like those are sometimes great, but like when you're picking up every single romance book and they're always the same, it's a little bit frustrating. Like I like my romance books mainly, right, to have a romance plot, yes, but to also have depth to them and like talk about life and maybe, you know, like realistic, serious situations that we all go through. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with the light and cheesy and fluffy. Those are also great. But I find it challenging when like almost every single romance is like that. That's especially popular, I feel like, on the market. And so I wasn't sure if her books would be in that category of like sweet and cute. And I was like, okay, maybe. But I actually was pleasantly surprised. I feel like they did tackle, you know, like real life situations, and they were done really well. I have to say the best thing I loved about her books, in all three of them that I read last month, was the banter. I think she does it so well. It is really great, like romance driven, but it's funny. It's cheesy, but like done well, you know what I mean? Like it's not overly like, oh, this is so annoying kind of thing. And they're just so funny. There were moments I actually was laughing out loud while reading this book. And I found myself hooked. I felt like the stories, even if parts were maybe some, obviously a little bit predictable, you knew that there would be a romance or where it was going. I think it was just done so well. And I just had such a great time. Like, it's like a rom-com, but even with more depth to it. And like I said, the first two books that I read in that series, they follow a small town, I think, is it in Idaho? Or I don't remember exactly, Ohio maybe. And it follows a story of, so the first book is about one friend and the second one is about the second friend and their romances. The first one, it's kind of following her as she's coming back to her hometown. She is engaged to kind of an up-and-coming lawyer, fancy pants man in the big city, sort of that, you know, feeling. But she's coming back home and she's dealing kind of with the issues of just facing people. You know how it is sometimes when you come back to your hometown, but then also realizing that there is somebody in her hometown that she has a history with, and maybe not always so great. And so you're kind of seeing a little bit more of that history with her and this person. But then also she is in this book dealing with different things about her body. So just kind of some warning, like in regards to like body image of herself, and also just peer pressure from others for like dieting and almost like anorexia, I would say. So just be aware that that is kind of talked about, but I think it is done well. But I just really enjoyed it. Then the second book follows her friend Tessa, and she is again in the small town, but it follows her and her romance with someone that she has loved this guy since she was a kid essentially. And so I just thought their story, again, it was so sweet, but also it does deal with a little bit of deeper issues. She went through some challenges and some trauma, and so did the male main character. And again, I just thought that the author does such a good job of combining them together. And again, if you're looking for really great banter, just please check it out. Give it a try and see if it's something that you're wanting. And all of her books, they don't have, it's all closed, there's no spice, like I guess people are asking, like they're all closed door, there's nothing, no explicit scenes. So just so you're aware. And then the other book that I read by Cindy Steele is called The One with the Kiss Cam. And I was not prepared for this one. This was a 5-star read for me. It really, I resonated with a lot of the things that the female main character was going through. And I just found myself really resonating with the female main character and a lot of the things that she's going through with her family and some of the struggles, particularly with her relationship with her mother. And I wasn't expecting, like I said, from, you know, like a romance. I was like, oh, I didn't know what it would be. But the story, the one with the kiss cam, follows the story of Duke, and I cannot remember her name now, but she's kind of trying to date a little bit, and she's on a date actually with someone else from, you know, a dating website, and it's not going, dating app or whatever, and it's not going well. And she happens to see this guy that, you know, she finds attractive, but he's sitting next to her, he's with his friends at a basketball game. And the guy that, you know, it's just not really working out with this random guy that she's with, and he leaves, and during, you know, the halftime, the kiss cams, it keeps coming back to them, and finally they do kiss, and it's like an awesome kiss, and she's like, oh my gosh, this is great. And they have this awesome night of just like fun and adventure and banter. He kind of, you can tell that there's sparks there, and she's like, whoa, like this feels really different for him and for her. But then they don't see each other for several years, and then we follow up again when they happen to like run into each other, and there's things going on. It takes place at their workplace, but I just think I don't know, it just really, I really enjoyed it. It was funny, but yet like serious and lighthearted. There's elements of just like hope and healing through different situations, and I really enjoyed it. These 3 books are on my birthday / Christmas list, so I'm hoping to pick these up actually in physical copies, because I really actually think they're also cute covers, but there are books that I would actually want to own and maybe go back and annotate and things like that. So I really did enjoy them. For sure recommend Cindy Steele. I'm excited to read anything else she has written, so for sure please pick her up if you enjoy romance, funny banter, deep romances, any of the things I've talked about. Please pick up her books. Then I finished up the month with a pretty big fantasy read, and I have not read a fantasy or romantasy for a while, I feel like, so I wasn't sure. I was like, am I in the mood? But I saw that we had this book on Libby available, and I was like, I know this has been popular, I wanted to check it out. And that is the book, it is the book Shield of Sparrows. And this was also a 5-star read. I really thought this was really fun. I really enjoyed it. I ended up rating this like a 4.5 stars, pretty close to 5, but I thought it was done really well. I sometimes struggle with romantasy lately or fantasy, because sometimes, you know, they feel like very similar. I know there's been, you know, discussion about this on BookTube and book community, where it's like a lot of times it seems like they're just copy pasting certain plots. And you know, I'm all a sucker for certain tropes that, you know, we all like, but when it's just constantly, it's like you feel like you're reading the same book. So I wasn't sure if this would be like that too, and I kept hearing a lot about it, but I thought I would check it out, and I actually really did enjoy it. I felt like it did have a little bit of a different magical elements, magical creatures that to me seemed different. Not that I'm a full expert on fantasy, but to me it felt a little bit different than what I've read in a lot of other fantasy books, and it was engaging. I listened to the audiobook as well as reading it in tandem from Kindle Unlimited, and yeah, like I said, I really enjoyed it. It follows this princess, and she is the second daughter. So she's not actually the one who is kind of, her plan is not to be like the main daughter who later becomes queen. Like, she's kind of the second daughter, and they're like, you're there, but you know, she's not really as important, I guess, in the realm of all the political politics and courts and stuff. And so she's never really been the one to be married off. Like, they were planning her sister this whole time, and so she's just kind of living life and doing things. And then from another realm, the guardian and the prince come, and the prince essentially is like, well, I've done a favor for you, so part of the prize, you know, I get a bride prize. And they're like, oh yeah, here you go, here's this awesome, you know, her sister. And then he's like, no, not her, the other one. And they were like, wait, what? And she's also just super like taken back, like, this is not the plan. So for some reason, you know, she ends up being the chosen one to be with the prince. And so she ends up being married, taken across to this realm. There's kind of political elements of espionage and things like that, different plans. There are some plot twists that happen that I really enjoyed in this one. I thought the tension and the romance was really good, especially the tension. I think there's a second book in the series, but I think it was just done really well. The world, the magic, I am curious to see what happens. It kind of ends on an interesting cliffhanger, so I think I definitely am interested in seeing what the second one is. So overall, a really fun experience. I really enjoyed it. I love the character of the guardian. I want to see more. So now that, you know, we're kind of invested in the relationship and things, I want to see what happens in the next one. So I don't know, I really liked it. I thought it was a really fun experience. And what I liked about this one is that I love that there was a lot of emphasis on like the world building and the fantasy and the story and the politics as well as the romance, like I think they were well balanced. It wasn't just completely like romance, 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 which I feel like happens a lot. And it's just like, there's not really much of a plot, and that's not what happened here. I'm hoping in the second book it still stays that way as well, because there's questions I want answered, mysteries I want solved, and I don't want it just to be taken over by, you know, I hope the author doesn't just go excessively like overboard, because that seems to be the trend, I feel like, with a lot of romantasy books. And I mean, I know it says it in the name, but you know what I mean. So that's just my thoughts, my 2 cents on that. So those are the 5 books that I read. I had a great reading month in September, and I'm just so excited to tell you guys about October. I've already been getting some good reading done, and I hope you all have a great rest of October. And until the next video, bye everyone.